Welcome to the tutorial video for the course-based Outbreak expansion stuff. It's really cool. You get 2 sheets of terrain in here and you've got some cells and some reactors and some cool stuff, and you've got the lovely infestation. So let's dive in so that I can show you how to assemble those parts. Okay, so the Outbreak, this is a really cool and simple 2-sheet set. Okay, so on this first sheet you've got really cool things like this little reactor here, I'll show you how to build in a second, and you've got like the little scientific table and some cells and a little console, and then on this sheet you've got the infestations themselves, which are really cool and allow you to kind of infest your ship up with alien gory goodness. So first of all, let's just move on to this one here. Let's have a look at this. Let's tackle this really simple bit here, which is these cell walls. So these are basically just walls like, you know, any other, and we carefully pop those out. So you've got these little bars. This is a door here, and these little bars. You want to be really careful when you're popping out the bits you don't need in between. Okay, so I'm going to do that first. Okay, so you've got 2 really cool cell walls there. Okay, now I just pop that all out by hand. You have to be very careful. But if you're struggling or you think you're going to bend it when you're taking these parts out, it's only held on by tiny little tabs. You can always grab a little knife and you can run that there before you try to pop them out, and then they'll literally just fall out. Okay, so now what we do here, these are still doors, and these doors are still held in here. So if I pop one of these doors out, so just like any other door, you would be able to, any other wall, you'd be able to just basically pop those onto here. So as just one example, if I was to do this, like so, and here, there you go. You can have a really cool kind of cell area that allows you to kind of, you know, actually this is a terrible cell because there's a great big door there, but you can always block that up with the door that you can push back in there. And then you do your mission, do whatever you do, and when you need to open or unlock the cell doors, your tech does it or whatever, you can just pop the door out, and if you need to relock it, you can pop the door back in again like so. Okay, so that's the cell door. That's a really kind of simple part there. Let's have a look at, let's just dive in with this bit here because it's the most complicated piece, which is this really cool little reactor here. So I'm going to pop the parts of that out. Now, assembling this one, this has got some half cuts across here. So first thing I'm going to do is give those a little bit of a bend like that, supporting the inside, which makes that cool kind of tube part. And then and then for this we need to basically move around here and assemble these onto the little slots, these kind of little strut parts here. So starting with one like that, I'm going to start at one end of here and I'm going to hook this over the top like so, and then it's going to go through the slot in the bottom like that. Okay, and then I'm going to put the next one on over the top like so, and I'm going to put that underneath. Okay, and then I'm going to just start to slot those in, starting from this side. I'm going to put that one on here, and then leaving this one out a little bit, I'm going to start to turn this round, making sure this is fully pushed in. I'm going to start to turn that round and slot that into the bottom of here and that at the same time. Okay, and I'm not necessarily going to push this back flush yet. I'm just going to go around and I'm going to grab another one of these. And this last one, you should have just enough room to pull it down, a little bit of pressure, and drop that in underneath like so. And once you've done that, you can really make sure that these are all pushed in as far as they need to go. And it kind of is a bit like this at first, okay, because what you need to do, you need to kind of move this around and adjust it a little bit. So we'll start tucking this in and So I end up with this kind of shape here. There's a bit of a gap there, but you don't have to worry about that, because what you're going to do is you're going to take this piece here and you're going to pop that on the top, and that then starts to hold everything together. And it means you probably need to just make that a bit smaller on the top, overlap it at the front here at first. Bum, bum, bum. And then once you've got that on, you can kind of put your finger in and just kind of pull it back out, and then that will meet down here. If it doesn't, little finger, if you can get it in there, just give it a little squish in like so. Readjust these bottom bits again, make sure they're all on there properly. Okay, and then you get this kind of shape here, and you'll notice there's a little bit of a kind of a gap under here, and that's what these bits here are for. So what you could do, you can grab a bit of glue and you can put glue one on top of another, and that goes there, and then you do the same here for the smaller ones, and you can glue those on there like that basically. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, and there you go, you've got your little reactor, and you can kind of give this a little bend if you like, so that it kind of sits flush onto the table. You're left with this little part here, and you've got a choice. You can either pop that on the top of there and basically just glue it into place, and then that's your reactor done. Or if you like, you can leave it off, and you can put some of your equipment tokens, like you do with cargo crates and random ones, stuff them in there as an extra place that you can search. And then if you need to, whoever destroys this particular thing in a mission, you can basically go, hey, that's really cool, let me see what I've got, and so on and so forth. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do with that, but there's your really cool little reactor. So next we have this really cool little kind of scientific table thing. So I'm just going to push those parts out. Okay, so here's the parts of your table. What we need to do obviously is just assemble it, and we're going to start by putting these two stands and these two parts here together. So I'm going to grab one of these and I'm going to slot it onto here. Now I notice I've got quite a tight slot here and here, so I'm just going to use my craft knife, my side cutters, or you can use a craft knife, just to widen that slot slightly. So just pop that on there. So just go in here and I'm going to go like that. That's all you need, a little sliver like that. Doesn't matter what ones you use, there's various ones, they're all the same pretty much. And so I'm just going to slot this onto here now. And already that makes a really solid little table part. Next thing to do is to slot this tabletop on. Okay, so you just have to kind of work your way in like so, and then once it's through, it's on there kind of loose, and you'll see there's some little location slots here that allow you just to slot into the top of the kind of little tiny tabs, for want of a better word there. So I'm going to locate that on the top like so. There you go, and you've got this great solid little bit there. Next we've got this little bit here, and what this does, it just adds a kind of a really cool 3D look to the top of your table, and you can have it like this, or you can have it, you know, splattered if you like. So you might have a mission where it starts like that, and then once the infection starts to spread, you could use that as a marker to say, right, the infections broke off the table, and you can kind of just rest that on the top of there like that. There are small location tabs that kind of hold it in place, which is fine. And then you've got these little tiny consoles on the side here, and they just slot into here like little computer control stations, as it were, and they go in there like that. And then that's what you get. You end up with this cool little scientific table. What have we got left on this sheet? Still got some cool stuff on here. So we've got a little sign here, which is just like the other signs from the core set, which is really cool. Gives you a little different sort of texture and some bits and pieces. Whee! And then we've got this little console here. Okay, so you end up with a little two little kind of horse shapes. You've got your main top of your console, you pop that on the top there, and this one over here, you pop that on the top there, and that gives you your little, just like that. And then at the top, you've got little tiny slots here. These are more location slots rather than a full slot. And you've got a similar thing here. And what it does, it almost just sort of like pinches in there, which gives you your console, your table. So you've got your cool little console there, and you'd have this and here, and that just gives you that really cool extra little bit of a theme to a room, as it were. Okay, so that is everything from this sheet. What we need to do is we need to now look at the infestation parts. So on this sheet you will see, and it's all labelled up, you've got some kind of large patches that we call. Okay, so you've got 4 large patches. You've got which is like the same size as a wall, pretty much. And then you've got like a half wall size patch. And then you've got various other different types of patches here that can be put on the floor and can also be used on a wall. And then you've got some struts, okay, but these are heavily infested. You can just see a little bit of a strut there. These are heavily infested, and I'll show you how those work. And finally, you've got lots of small bits and pieces. So you've got these little splatters, and you've got seed pods, and you've got a really cool tentacle that you can put in the corner of a room. That just adds a lot of detail to an infested room. And when popping these parts out, it's really important to just don't throw any of the small pieces that you're popping out here away. Just put them in a little bag, because you can sprinkle them in the room, and it just adds a real dimension to it. Okay, so I'm going to pop all of this stuff out for you right now. And again, this is quite a fiddly one, because there's some really tight little sinewy kind of bits here and here, so around this one. So just take your time popping this particular sheet out. Okay, so the die cutting on this is insane, and I think I've popped out all the little bits and pieces which make for good little splatters. You can use them as counters to mark infestations and all sorts of crazy stuff. So I'm going to move that to one side for a moment. Whee! Okay, and just explain these parts here. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to bring on a little set so we can I can show you how this works, if you like, in game. Okay, so as you can see, I've got just a little area or a room, as it were. When you are setting this up, if you want to set it up onto a room, then there's a few different options that you can do. If you're playing this as a game and you're like, okay, I just need to demonstrate that this room is infested, like a counter, you can literally just take something and go, right, that room's got 1 level of infestation, that's got 2 levels of infestation, and so on and so forth. Obviously, you can also do that by placing these particular parts onto your wall sections. So you could take a piece like this. I'm doing this backwards, and it kind of, these slots here are different for the normal slots. They're kind of very long slots, and they just fit over the very top level of your clip. So you can kind of mark that part there as infested, and if you come along and clear that infestation, you can just pop that off again. Okay, but if you're going to infest out a particular room and you're like, well, actually I want to set this up so it looks like it's fully infested, then what you do, you basically just clip these over the different areas of your setup in the same way, but you cover it across different walls. That's it. Okay, so you can pop that in there, close that up a little bit, and you get a little bit of infestation like that on a wall. This one has got a smaller door, and you do get a little patch that has got the sort of a shape of a smaller door as well, which could basically just go over there. And you get the idea of how to infest. Add like an infestation to a room. Once you've got that, though, you can start putting things like this in. So this looks really well, looks really good into the corner of a room. Okay, so there you go. That's how the infestation works. The other thing that you can do with the infestation as well, if you're using the, for some of our long-time fans, we've upgraded the clips. So one thing you can do now with the infestation is you can obviously use those now to clip the infestation together as a kind of a wall. And remember, don't forget, you've got all these little bits that you popped out. You've got all this little scattery kind of bits as well. You know, if you really wanted to go to town and you're setting up a big game and you want to kind of have piles of infestation, you can do that kind of stuff, or just use them as counters or whatever. But let me show you how to put those infested walls together just by themselves. So you might say, well, actually, I just want this huge area which is slowly being infestated, and I want a kind of a little mazy bit or whatever like that. So you can basically just grab your clips and put them on here. Because these clips are now wider across the top, you can basically just do that, and then you can do that, and you kind of can clip it together just like ordinary walls. And you can use like a strut at one end to kind of, you know, make that go this way, and you can kind of do stuff. Put this on here, maybe have that strut upside down so it looks like it's kind of going across the ceiling, and then you've got another bit over. Let's grab another strut, loads of struts, so you can have another one over here, and you can basically really kind of just infest the room up. And again, same rules apply as before. You can kind of you can do this kind of thing, and you can infest the room out and have it just, you know, you can have all these little bits in here, and you can just make the room look really kind of thing, and you stick your miniatures in and you're standing in this. Now, if you've got a couple of game mats, or you've just got some extra space or a really large room, this is a way of extending your walls. Basically, it's an option to have additional walls and things, which is really kind of cool, because it just opens up your gameplay and gives you a lot more options, as it were. And of course you can, so this would clip onto another area of your wall. So if I clip this onto here now, you can see it actually becomes part of your ordinary, you know, setup, as it were. So yeah, that's really cool, if you like, new feature for our infestations. And of course, with these new clips, any of you got some of our infestation packs from before, it's the same infestation, so you can do that with those now as well, which is a real super bonus. So there you go, that is the infestations for the Outbreak set. Okay, so that's how to assemble the parts for the Outbreak expansion. You can now integrate that into your core space games and generally just expand your universe. Happy gaming!